Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. So today we are going to discuss about CLM, IB, MVP, and MVP Plus stories, right? So on high level, once this is done, we'll go and talk about each and every minute configurations, whatever we have done in CLM in terms of IB, right? So on high level, right? So to comprise it, so in MVP, mostly we dealt with new tax related fields, right? We created new tax related fields on agreement, and we also created a button on agreement with which we can validate the GSTN number which we have provided, and then we can hit the external system and get the data back from external system to agreement, right? So that is one part, and another part is like tax exemption component, right? So the certificate upload part, right? So we upload certificate on the agreement, right, for tax exemption. Same thing, whatever we have done in the contracts and codes, right? So same thing applies over here as well. Most of the things, whatever you have there, right, same things will be over here, but in a different way. That's what you can see over here, right? So in MVP Plus, mostly we dealt with contract sync, right? In simple words, let's say I change GSTN number on agreement, right? Same details should be reflected back to the default contract and whatever the associated active contracts, right, with that agreement. To sync those details, we created multiple components. So there is a table, sync table, in which we can see both agreement details and contracts details in one go, so that we can simply understand, so what are the changes between agreement on all the contracts, so that we can review that and then click on sync button, so that the data will get synced from agreement to default contract and active contracts. That is one thing. So another scenario which we implemented is portal down scenario. Let's say if the portal is completely down, so we should be able to manually update GSTN related details, right? So tax related details, and a reapproval part. Let's say tax exemption is already approved earlier, and because of other approval processes, right, so entire agreement is rejected, and next time when we go for the approval process again, it should not go through the same tax exemption process. So it has to skip that particular step and go to the another approval rules, whatever we have. So that is something which we have implemented. And on top of it, we also worked on secondary tax ID, right? So we brought a new field which is secondary tax ID into the agreement, and along with secondary tax ID, we also brought like GSTN manually updated check mark. What I can say, like a flag on agreement, so which actually helps us to understand whether this particular agreement GSTN details are updated manually or portal updated it. So those are the two fields which we have created. One is the secondary tax ID and GSTN manually updated, right? So for secondary tax ID, we have certain validations. Same validation even applies on contracts as well. Whatever the validations we have on contracts, similarly, same thing be applied here on agreement, right? So in MVP, right? So these are the validations which we have created, right? So for reason India, only INR currency is applicable for partners without GST number, right? If partner tax type for India is such, currency can either be USD or INR. So I will walk through them on the agreement record itself, so that you will get better understanding on that instead of going through the theoretical information. Definitely I will go through that. And MVP Plus, we have created one validation role, which is on secondary tax side. And these are the...
sorry to stop you here, Tirma, but on what type of agreements are all these validations applicable? Is it only on partner agreement or on resellers and legal agreements as well? These are applied.
These are applied only on partner, so that is where we worked on actually. So these are not applicable for other record types actually.
Okay, and can you give us an overview of partner agreement on a high level? What happens, like you're telling about this default contract, draft contract, some terms, right? But those were not aware of those terminologies. We had only one two calls with Deepika and Sathi, but we couldn't get much details there. So if you can first walk us through the end-to-end process, what happens in CLM, what is the draft contract, when the COA comes into picture, all these things, right? And then this KT will make more sense.
Yeah, definitely, Karthik. Yeah. Let me log into as PAM, right? So, okay, who? So, Alliance Portal Managers, right? So, basically, these are the people, Alliance Portal Managers and PAMs and POPs. So, both of them mostly work on these agreements. So, in agreements, we have a different set of agreements through NDA, PSA, MSA, right? Legal agreements and partner agreements and professional services agreements, out of which currently we are going to talk about partner. I will focus on that. So I will start from opportunities, right? So initially we will have accounts and then we create opportunity on top of it, right? So let me go back to opportunity. Right. So what we do basically for the partners, right? So we create agreements from here. We'll click on plus icon and go to the related list, and from here we create agreements. So for legal and all, right, we have a different flow altogether. We can go from these buttons and we can create some agreements from over here. But when it comes to the agreements, right? So when it comes to the partner agreements, we come over here from the related list and create it. So let me go through that. Right, so we're focusing on partner agreement, right? So I'm clicking on partner agreement first.
So this you are creating on a partner account or a sales account?
This is partner account basically.
So we need to create a partner account, opportunity on that account, and then this partner account, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm creating new agreement. So you will have minimal fields on this section. I will say no. So I will be mostly focusing on whatever related to the IB implementations. When it comes to the CLM, right? CLM is vast. There are a lot of things in CLM. So I will talk about what we do on the agreements definitely, but mostly the focus is on IB related things, tax related things, right? So which is what mostly even you need it, right? Once you start working on that.
And what is this program enrollment? ISV force, what are the other values there?
We have OEM, right? So we have OEM and ETA connector. So we mostly use ISV for the partners, right? So ISV is all about App Exchange products, right? So the partners, whoever want to be part of App Exchange product and sell their products, right? So that is all about ISV force basically.
So only right. ISV is in force is in scope for IB, or other three are also in scope?
So basically ISV force is the one which is applicable as of what I worked so far on this. We never used this ETA connector or OEM. OEM also comes into the picture, but mostly it is ISV force is what we worked on so far.
Okay, but if we select this program enrollment as OEM, will there be any difference in the functionality for IB?
Functionality in the sense approval process, different approvals will be triggering if I select OEM. If I select ISV, a different set of approvals will be triggered. So in terms of IB functionality, right, there is no other different impact. Everything is same. In terms of what GST and tax related details, right? So the sync whatever we are doing from agreement to default contract and active contracts, those things are always same. There is no difference in between them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So I selected that as ISV force, and we need to create an application while we are creating an agreement. So this is typically like partner would like to take right. So agreement with us. For that, they will be creating application, or internally our people will create application for that. So this application represents that whether they are free partners like or paid partners, right? And so this PCCT and link to default contract, right? These are the things which plays vital role in our development. So this comes in place once we add products to the agreement, and then go for COA creation records. Once we create those records, right? So it actually creates default contract and PCCT records. So based on that, right? So further transaction will happen for partners. Say, for example, partners will log into the partners business org, right? So whatever the products that we add in the PCCT, right? Whatever part of PCCT, only those products they can sell from the PBO org, like partner business org, right? So that comes after once I create agreement and go with the next process, then only we'll see, right? So for now, I'm just skipping this. When I say skipping, we should not fill this thing actually. So it should come from the system basically. Right. So when it comes to the IBE, right? So this is one of the critical piece which we worked on, currency and reason, and customer tax number, and then partner tax type. So these are the pieces which plays vital role in the IBE, right? So for IBE, we select reason as India. And for India, right? So you can have INR as currency and USD as currency. It's up to the partner in which way they want to pay. They can either use INR or USD. Only when it comes to SEDGE partners. Here it is non-SEDGE, right? So the partner tax type is SEDGE, right? So then only they can select INR and USD. If the partner tax type is non-SEDGE, right? So then they are allowed to select only INR. They're not allowed to select USD. Right. So I hope you have, your team has more understanding about SEDGE and non-SEDGE. Do you want me to explain about what is SEDGE and non-SEDGE, Karthik?
I think we should be good. We have idea of the IBA concepts, but we wanted to know more about the CLM piece and how what are the pieces that are left to be developed and tested.
Sure, Karthik. All right. So along with that, we also introduced the secondary tax ID in the MVP Plus. So along with these fields, right? So this has certain validations, as your team already aware of it, right? So there are certain validations which I want to bring up first, and then we will move on, right? Let's say currency is INR, and I'll say I will select as USD. Then it makes more sense. Non-SEDGE and reason as India, and then secondary tax ID. Anyways, I have to fill it. So same validations applies over here as well. Whatever we have in your team, right? So same thing applies over here as well. Yeah, there is a validation rule which we have created. So for non-SEDGE, it should only allow INR, right? And Yeah, for Sage, definitely it will allow to save it. So that is how we have written validation rules. And yeah, so on top of it, right? So we have validation rules around GSTN number. So let's say we have entered GSTN number and we did not click validate button, then it won't allow to go through the approval process and all, right? So that is something which it will come once I save this approval agreement, then we will understand what exactly it is all about. So I will go through the each and every validation rules, right? If partner tax type for India is SEJ and currency can be either USD or INR. If partner tax type for India is non-SEJ, it will only allow. So this is something which we saw already, right? And for India reason, only INR currency is applicable without GSTN number. Let's say we don't have any GSTN number and we select currency as USD, then it won't allow. So that is another validation rule which we have written. Let's say I don't have GSTN number and I'm selecting US dollars and I'm trying to save it, right? So it won't allow that. That is another validation rule which we have written. Another one is like
one question. When does the second validation come? We saw the first one, right? Or the second one?
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one comes, right? So when partner tax type is SEJ, right? So that's the one which we spoke already, the first one, right? So let me repeat that. So that let's say here it is non-SEJ, right? So on reason as India, I'm trying to save it. So it will be around these three, 1, 2, 3, these three fields. If I try to save it, it won't allow it. This is one scenario. And second one comes in play when GST number is not there. So for this one, right, whatever we speak about over here, right, so this one comes for even with GST number. It's not specific to without GST number. So there should be GST number here for this. So second one without GST, which is like B2C scenario, wherein there is no GST number already provided, and I'm going with SEJ as expected. SEJ and US dollar, which is something expected, right? But second validation rule comes in place when this GST number is not there.
Okay.
Right. So this is the second scenario. And
We're not giving the business type here anywhere, B2B or B2C.
Business type basically we are not giving it manually, Karthik. So if there is a GSTN number, then we are treating that as B2B. If there is no GSTN number, then we are actually treating this as B2C. Once we save the record, you will see those details on the UI.
What about basically the UIN? What about the UIN, Sima?
UIN number?
UIN. So either we can give GSTN number or UIN number.
Secondary tax ID, yeah.
No, secondary tax ID is different, so that is a different field. Mm-hmm. But on contract, if you see, right, there will be 3 fields in the tax info. One is the GST, a tax registration number. That can be either GSTN number or UIN number. Okay. And there is this business type, that will have 2 drop-down values, business to business and business to consumer. And last one is the tax type. Tax type is either GSTN, UIN or none. So we need, if we enter UIN number, right, then we need to enter this UIN number in the tax registration number. We need to select B2C and select the tax type as none. Okay, so the same we're utilizing, but we're giving different values there. So you don't support UIN, is it?
No, until today, right? So we didn't see that UIN number at all on agreement, as of what we worked on IB related things.
Okay. So in your case, if it is if we enter some number in the GSTN field, then that's a B2B transaction. If we don't enter anything, that's a B2C.
Exactly. That is how we are finalizing that, whether it is B2B or B2C.
Okay, but this will create a contract at some point, right? When you do some action after you complete this agreement. And Chinmay, we have the validations there, right? On the trigger, contract trigger.
On the trigger,
We don't have it.
I don't think so, unless we edit the tax information. I have to check, Karthik.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Eva. Please proceed. We'll check this with Ankit or Deepika.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, welcome, Karthik. Yeah. So these are the validation rules available. We covered the third one also, right? So partner tax type validation, right? So partner tax type provided is wrong, and this comes in place, right? Once we hit external system and get the data from external system to agreement. Let's say partner tax type. Let me go back so that. Right, so let's say we selected it as non-sedge over here, and the response which we got from the external system, right? So that is sedge, right? So that data and this data should be in sync. If these are different, right, then we are not allowing to save the record. Right.
When does validation happen? Validation with the PwC portal, and click on the save here, or is there some other link or something?
Basically, once we save this record, right, we'll get a button, validate buttons. So, for example, if I provide GST number over here, right, so immediately we'll see that, but it comes in action when once we save the record, basically.
Okay.
So entering GST number, right? So I just entered GST number. So you will get one button over here, validate button, once I save it, basically. Right. So this another validation rule, and then let me go back.
Where does the tax ID validations takes place the most? Because you entered 36, right? That 36 is Telangana. With which address will this GST and validation be done? Will the validation happen at all?
That comes as the next part. Once we save the record, you will see the validate button. So within the validate button, we'll be checking the format validation, if the format is correct, and agreement account, right? Account state, and here it is matching, then only we'll allow it. Otherwise, we don't allow it.
Okay, but before saving, like while you save, you can have an invalid ID there, is it?
While we save, we can have invalid ID. Yeah, true.
Okay.
Right. So another one is like for India region, partner tax type can be either SEJ or non-SEJ for GST and registered partners. This is something already we discussed, right? So final one is like for India region, only payment method applicable is wire transfer. There is something called payment method. So that should be only wire transfer for India region. If we select any other thing, it won't allow it basically. Right, so here wire transfer, right, this is the one. So this is a payment method which a partner has to use it. Basically, this comes only for India. Right, so I will provide details and try to save it. A non-such, right? It should be INR. Right. So as part of MVP phase, right? So we brought up new section altogether onto the detail page. Earlier we don't have that, which is GSTN information. This section was not there earlier. So as part of MVP, right? So we brought this section, and if you notice that there is only one field which is editable, right? Which is partner tax type. Rest of the fields are non-editable. Except this secondary tax ID, this can be editable. Rest of the fields comes from the PwC portal. Only portal can update it back here. Through the system, we are updating it. So manually, we cannot update any of these tax-related informations, right? And if you notice that there is something called validate button. Any questions over here?
So this B2B value also we got from PwC, right? We didn't get the response from PwC. Right?
Basically, this is a formula field which we are using. If GST number is there, then it shows as B2B. We are not getting this information from external system, basically. This is our own value. Yeah. Yeah. So by default, it will be taxable per PO, right? So this is something which we are hard coding. So first time it will be like taxable per PO. Once we click, right? So once we click and update certificate, right? So there is a section which comes over here. So let's say if partner tax type is SEJ, right? Yeah, let me hit external system and get the data, right? So then you will see this section. Yeah, let's go through the step by step, right? So we have validate button. So in which once we click this validate button, right, we're actually calling a flow behind the scene. This is basically expected. So this flow takes some time to bring the data. Currently, we are not bringing the data. First thing what we do is like we will validate this GST number again at the format what we needed. The format is incorrect, then it won't allow us to go to the external system and get the data. Yeah, let me refresh the page again. Basically, we are using the same functionality, whatever your team built, right? So for validating this JSON number, we are using same Apex class. So we didn't introduce anything new. So whatever the format you are using it, same functionality we are using it over here as well, right? So this is the GST number, and so now it is validated against the format, whatever we have. So the format is accurate, then it will show this message. So please click on next to get the GSTN details from the Indian government portal. Any questions until here?
So if there are some errors, will we get the errors here itself, or is there any other field?
If the format is incorrect, then we will see the error message over here. Apart from this GSTN format, right, there are no other validations which we have written over here.
Okay, so we selected SEZ, but we gave a non-SEZ GSTN there. So it should not allow us to save, right?
It still allows us. But once we save, once we get external system data, right? So after saving that within the agreement, if somebody clicks on edit button on agreement, and then go for approvals. Let's say it's not just like getting data from external system, right? We need to go for approvals. So during that time, it will say that this is not allowed. PAM should basically come in and replace that partner tax type.
So we haven't built any automation there. It's a manual process.
It's a manual process basically. Got it. So PAM should do that actually. PAMs or POPs.
Okay. So we're validating only the format, or we're validating if the GSTN belong to that state or not?
We're also validating the GSTN, whether it is that is belonging to the particular state, whatever we have mentioned on the account. We don't have address related information in the agreement. Basically, we rely on account. If state code is not correct, then we'll show the error message here itself in the previous screen, right? So in the previous screen, again, wherever we are doing format validation, right, it's there itself, which says that. So this is not accurate.
So we'll validate with account spelling address, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we got details back from external system. Again, we are using similar classes, whatever your team is using, but to get the external data, right? So same thing applies over here, right? And clicking on finish. So once we click on finish, right, so you will see the details, sedge, active, GSTN block status, and tax information, right? So on state code. These are the details came from PwC portal. And if you notice that there is something called tax exemption tab. Earlier it was not there. Once we got the details from external system and taxpayer type as such, then only this tax exemption will come in place. Right? So this is a place where we upload the documents for tax exemption.
So, Timma, you said you are using the same call out which we are using in contract object, right? To validate the GSTN. So, if we by chance put UIN, will that payload be returned as UIN and B2C? And the formula will stay as it is B2B formula field? Like, did you ever try passing UIN?
UIN, we don't have a placeholder where we can pass it from agreement to test it also.
Right? Like in the GSTN field itself.
In the GSTN field, UIN number, we never tried.
Yeah. We never tried. Okay.
We never tried that actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have our own class as well, but from there we are hitting your class basically. I will talk about those details, right? Once we go into the more technical details, right?
Mm-hmm. But the endpoint is same, right?
Endpoint is same again.
Okay.
Yeah, these same as what you were doing on the contracts, right? Similar kind of thing. Nothing different. Basically, we are just including the same component, whatever your team built, right? We are just incorporating that. So we did not do anything special on top of this specific section for tax upload document. Nothing different. We only built one specific component to include your components. That's the only thing which we did.
And this was in MVP, right?
This was in MVP. Yeah, same applies, right? I think even this tax exemption applies for MVP phase. Yeah, and the changes whatever you have done in the MVP plus on this, right? Same thing applies over here. We didn't make any changes at all. Same thing applies here.
Yeah, but I remember Jitendra had made many changes in MVP plus again.
Yeah.
You didn't change the component after that, right?
No.
So, Chinmay, this is the MVP plus component only. Tax document approved section came to the top. Can you scroll down, Tima?
Yeah.
Do you want to upload new documents? This is also MVP plus change only.
Okay.
So basically, when we were live with MVP, it used to be the same component. With MVP plus changes, the new component is here.
Okay.
Yeah. So to simplify it, right, getting back to the story, right? So in MVP, majorly we dealt with new tax fields, GST invalidation, and tax exemption component. These are the three elements mostly we worked on. So whatever we saw over here, right? So this tax exemption, this is one thing. And this section, right? This tax information section and the fields, whatever we have created, those things. And this validate button, right? So these are the things which we built in MVP. And on top of it, when we create COA, right? COA button, right? So these details, whatever we have, we are cloning it to the default contracts, right? So once we clone that into the default contract, so we can reuse that default contract and create an active contract and do the further orders, whatever on top of it, right?
Okay, so that is where we don't have any knowledge, default contract and other stuff, right? Where COA comes into picture. But we'll slowly go there. But what happens after we upload the document is there should be an approval role, right?
Exactly, yeah. So once we upload the document, what happens? Earlier, here it is now taxable per PO, right? If at all, if I upload a document over here, right, what happens? So immediately this will be changed to exempt, right? So based on this,
an upload of the document itself or after the document is approved?
On upload of document itself, we are making it as exempt basically. And once it is approved, it remains exempt. If it is rejected, and again it comes back to the taxable per PO. So we are using this field for approval process to trigger the approval, right? So we are actually converting this as exempt actual first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on reject itself, if someone rejects it, right, it goes to some legal team or something, right? And immediately it will turn to taxable PO?
Exactly. It becomes as taxable per PO immediately.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you folks have some time, we can proceed, or else if you want to continue another day, we can continue from there.
Okay. I'm fine to continue till 3 o'clock. Chinmay, Lauka.
So till 3 o'clock I'm fine. I have call at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, then good. I can move on, right?
Labika, you good?
Okay, 3 o'clock we can.
Okay. Yeah, Dima, go ahead.
Yeah. So now further steps comes in place, right? Adding products. So we have to add the products, and then we have to go for approvals, and then we go for COA records. Once we do that, then this default contract will come into the picture. So multiple steps involved. I'll go with one by one step. So, right. So first what I need to do, I need to fill, these are the fields, right? So billing name, billing email, these are mandatory things which I need to fill in to proceed further with approvals and COA. I will just give some name. And customer signing contract is something which.
What's the full form of COA?
It's kind of order creation. It's kind of order creation, exactly. Order creation application, something.
Channel order application.
Correct. Channel order application, basically. Yeah. It's customer signing contract, and then request type as new partner. And there is something called LRO. This regarding to compliance related application. There is a record which is LRO record. So wherein it has to go through the compliance process first, and then once that record is created, then we can include that compliance record over here, right? So any partner that you want to onboard, right? So we go through the agreement process, right? Right, we go through the agreement process. So while going through the agreement process, so we also need to have a record which is LRO record, in which we have like compliance related informations, right? So currently I'm keeping some record which is already there, certification requirement. There is nothing to do with IBE MVP Plus, right? But certification requirement is one of the record which we need to create for onboarding any partner, basically. So that is mandatory. And then, yeah, I'll try to save it. Amendment effectiveness.
Is there any status on this agreement record? Like, is it a draft record? Once it is approved, then only it will change approved. Is there something like that here? Like we have it in the contract?
There is nothing like draft here. So it's all about application, whether it is approved or not. That's it. So if you want something new, right? So we'll create another version of agreement, basically. Up and let's say you are adding new clauses or new rules or removing something, right? So then basically we create another agreement which is called appended agreement. We'll append something on top of this agreement, which is a new record altogether.
Okay. So, but this agreement, like the stage is determined based on its approval status.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. So, yeah.
So and which status field there, Timma? It doesn't say anything. So it will be blank, is it? We don't have that field, is it?
Which one, right? This one, right?
This one.
It's not required, basically. It actually gets changed based on the data which we provide. So this basically in which phase it is. So we are not using it in IB at all, right? So we don't need to focus much on this status field.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. Right. So we provided sufficient details, and we can add products. So these products, whatever you see over here, right? So these products only comes to specific profiles, like Alliance Portal Manager, Alliance S2S. For them, it will come. If you log in as admin and try to do this activity, it will not come. You can still get it with some configuration. So I'm adding some products, like PPC, Partner Product Catalog. Right. So once we add PPCs, right, so what happens? We have to go for the approval process. So, right, so we need to click on preview and submit for approvals. It will take us to the different page altogether.
So the way the products is selected, is it just a product record? There is no price list association or currency, nothing is there? You can select any product which is there in the product to record.
We can select any product. So those configurations are not there. An agreement. So those things basically comes from the on the court level, CPQ, right? So this out of CPQ, right? Basically.
Okay. So based on some configurations, it will show all the records which are there in product to object.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So these are the approval rules which were based on the details which we provided, based on whatever the percentage and all, right? So all these things will be there. These are the approval rules comes in place once we add products, right? So we can click on submit.
India approval didn't come, right? Tax exemption approval. We didn't upload documents. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I will submit it. And to approve it, I need to log in as Ashutosh, and currently I can approve it one step, but so we need to log in with multiple people. What I do, right? So I will try to approve directly from the record itself. So when it comes to the fully functional KT rights, maybe Deepika will take you through that part, but right, whoever supposed to approve, they need to log in and then approve it in general.
So, any shortcut for this? We can update some fields and make sure that it is not like doing multiple approvals, right? Or in CLM, it will always trigger these many approvals, even if we select some data differently.
Correct. There are some approvals, they will always come, regardless of what data we have.
Okay.
In CLM, basically. Yeah.
Okay. And delegates only, so delegates and all will work here, right? Maybe we can add ourselves as a delegate to these persons, and then we can approve on their behalf. Yeah.
We can still approve it. So we can still approve it. So personally, like this OK who is a delegator on multiple approvals, he can still approve it, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you can log in. We can basically go to the my approvals and approve, right? But since there are more approvals, right? So I'm thinking to approve it straightforward from here. So when I say approval, right? So it's not directly an agreement. I have to go through the products, and there those should be approved. Yeah, whatever comes under this OKHO, he's approving it.
Can we change the status directly just for the testing purpose, or when we do demos and all, right? Instead of going through all these approval rules and all, can we change the approval status field to approved? Is there any validation built there?
We can directly change it. There is no such validation. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so I'm just going back instead of waiting for this, right? So I'm just going back, and we'll go to the related list on the products, right? So that product I will try to approve it so that only I can go and create COE records, right? So there is something called PCC, right? So I will go there. And what I will do, I will approve it. So whatever the product I have added it, I'm approving it. Without approving that, I will not be able to create any channel order application related things. So what I will do, I will go back. And here request type should be partner, new partner. It is there. It should be filled in general. And then since it is approved, remember this is not like approval status of agreement. It is approval status of the product, the one which I approved. Right. And then I will go here and click on COA. So once I click that, so it creates contract and then PCCT and links between contract and PCCT.
The orders as well, Tima.
It just creates draft contract, Karthik.
Then if it's only draft contract, what is the need of giving this product and all? It all product needs to be in approved status or something, right?
There are validation rules which they have created. The product, whatever we have created, right? So that product comes under the PCCT. This plays vital role with the product. There is a connection between this, right? So that's why it has to go through that. That is how we built it. It should be approved first.
Okay, but on the draft contract that is getting created, there will not be any orders.
There won't be any orders. Yeah.
Okay.
So contract is created and PCCT is created and it linked between PCCT and contract, right? So and you will see that once I click it, right? You will see default contract, right? And then PCCT. Right. So default contract contains the details, whatever we have provided on agreement. Certain details are coming from static data and certain details we are taking from agreement record itself to create a default contract. So this is a default contract. So right, once we create it, we can create active contracts on top of it and go with order creation part, right? So that is something which we are not doing from our side. Our part is like from CLM side, what we worked on is like creating default contracts until where we worked on. But when it comes to the MVP Plus, so we went further and worked on active contracts as well in terms of syncing. Any questions, Karthik?
Nothing. This looks good till now. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So when can we connect? Can we connect on Wednesday? Works.
Yeah, works for me, but I'm still thinking when can we get the complete functional KT from product team? And Pratik is off this week, and Rusa also won't be available.